The massive ship came down from the sky like a falling star. It was silver and gold, and it was bigger than any building on Earth. People ran through the streets of Seoul. Some screamed, some cried, some just stood and watched with their mouths open. Princess stood at the window of her ship and looked down at the small blue planet. She had traveled for many years across the dark space between galaxies. She had come from Andromeda, a place so far away that human minds could not understand the distance. Her people were old. They had lived for millions of years. They had seen stars born and die. They had built empires across thousands of worlds. And now they had finally come to Earth. Was tall and beautiful. Her skin was pale like moonlight, and her eyes were the color of purple stars. Her long black hair fell down her back like a waterfall of night. She wore a dress made of light itself, and a crown of small floating crystals circled her head. She was 200 years old, but for her people, she was still young. "Princess," said her advisor, an old man named, "the humans are afraid. They think we have come to destroy them. Watch the tiny people running below. They are like children," she said, "so small, so weak, so afraid." "They are primitive," agreed. "They have only had space travel for 100 years. They still fight wars with each other. They still destroy their own planet. Many in the Empire think we should not waste our time with them." "But the Emperor, my father, thinks differently," said. "Yes, he believes humans may be useful. They breed quickly, they are many, and they are creative in their own simple way." Nodded. She did not expect much from this visit. She would meet their leaders, sign some papers, and return home. It was a boring job, but someone had to do it. The ship landed in a great open field outside the city. Thousands of soldiers surrounded the area. Helicopters flew in circles above. News cameras from every country on Earth pointed at the ship. The whole world was watching. The door of the ship opened and walked out. Behind her came 50 of her guards, tall warriors in armor that shined like diamonds. The humans stepped back in fear. Their weapons seemed like toys compared to the technology of Andromeda. A group of human leaders walked forward to meet her. They wore suits and formal clothes. Their faces were pale and nervous. One of them, an older woman, spoke first. "Welcome to Earth," the woman said. Her voice was shaking. "I am the Secretary General of the United Nations. We are honored by your visit." Looked at her with cold eyes. "I am Princess of the Third House of Andromeda. I come in the name of Emperor, ruler of 10,000 worlds. I am here to discuss the future of your planet." The human leaders bowed low. They looked like they might faint from fear, felt bored already. This was going to be a long and uninteresting visit. They took her to a great building where the meeting would happen. Everything was prepared perfectly. The best food, the finest decorations, the most important people from every nation. But too, it all looked cheap and simple. She had seen wonders that these humans could never imagine. She sat at a long table, surrounded by nervous officials. They talked and talked about trade and peace and friendship, barely listened. She looked out the window at the strange blue sky of Earth. And then she saw him. A young man was walking across the room. He was not wearing a suit like the others. He wore simple work clothes, and his hands were dirty with oil. He carried a toolbox and walked with confidence, as if he did not care about the important meeting happening around him. "Who is that?" asked suddenly, interrupting a speech from some human politician. Everyone turned to look. The young man stopped. He had short black hair and kind eyes. He was not tall, but he stood straight and proud. "I am very sorry, Your Highness," the Secretary General said quickly. "He is just an engineer. He was fixing something in the building. He should not be here." "Come here," commanded. The young man walked toward her. He did not bow. He did not shake. He just looked at her with calm, curious eyes. "What is your name?" asked. "My name is," he said. His voice was clear and strong. "You do not seem afraid of me." Smiled. It was a warm smile like sunshine. "Should I be afraid?" The room went silent. No one had ever spoken to a princess like this. The guards moved their hands to their weapons, stepped forward with anger on his face, but raised her hand to stop them. She was not angry, she was interested. Yes, she said slowly. Most creatures in the galaxy are afraid of my people. We are powerful. We are ancient. We could destroy your entire planet with a single ship. Nodded. I know, I saw your ship. Very impressive technology, but fear is a strange thing. I read once that fear is just the unknown wearing a mask. Now that I see you, you do not seem so unknown. You seem like a person, a tired person who has traveled very far and probably wants a cup of tea. Stared at him. No one had ever spoken to her like this, not once in 200 years. People always bowed to her. People always trembled before her. People always told her what she wanted to hear. But this man, this simple human engineer, looked at her like she was just another person. You are strange, she said. Thank you, he replied. You are also strange. Your dress is made of light. How does that work? What is the power source? Is it some kind of contained plasma? Blinked, he was asking about her dress, about technology. She almost laughed. You want to know about my dress? I want to know about everything, said. His eyes were bright with curiosity. Your ship, your weapons, your medical technology, your energy systems. I have so many questions. For the first time in a very long time, smiled. It was a real smile, not the cold political smile she wore at meetings. You are different from the others, she said. The others are afraid, said simply. Fear makes people stupid. I am not afraid, so I can think clearly. And right now I am thinking that this is the most amazing day of my life. Aliens are real. They came to Earth. And I am talking to a princess from another galaxy. Why would I waste this moment being scared? Turned to her advisor. I want this man to be my guide during my stay on Earth. His mouth fell open. But princess, he is just a common worker. Surely one of their leaders would be more suitable. No, said firmly. I want him. The leaders are boring. They only tell me what they think I want to hear. This man speaks the truth. I like that. Laughed. I would be honored, Your Highness, but I should warn you I ask a lot of questions. Good, said. I have many answers. And so it began. The princess of Andromeda and the human engineer. No one in the room understood what they were seeing. They did not know that this simple meeting would change the history of both their peoples. They did not know that the universe was about to become a very different place. But knew, she felt it in her heart, a strange, warm feeling she had never felt before. This human was special. She did not know why yet, but she was going to find out. 3 days had passed since they arrived on Earth. Princess had attended many meetings. She had signed many documents. She had smiled at many cameras. But the only time she felt truly awake was when she was with. He took her everywhere. He showed her the busy streets of Seoul, where people walked fast and lights blinked in every color. He took her to small restaurants where old women cooked food over hot fires. He showed her temples on mountains and trains that moved faster than sound. But most of all, he showed her how humans thought. We are not smart like your people, explained as they walked through a university. We cannot do calculations in our heads like computers. We cannot remember everything we see. Our bodies are weak and our lives are short, but we have something else. What is that? Asked. We are stubborn, said with a smile. When something is impossible, we do not accept it. We try anyway. We fail. We try again. We fail again. And we keep trying until we succeed or die. Usually we succeed. Thought about this. Her people were different. They were logical. They calculated everything before they acted. If something seemed impossible, they did not waste time on it. They moved to something else. That sounds inefficient, she said. It is, agreed. Very inefficient. But sometimes the best things come from inefficiency. The most beautiful art, the most powerful love, the greatest discoveries, they all come from people who refuse to give up when they should have. On the fourth day, something unexpected happened. One of the warships had a problem. Its main engine had stopped working. The ship was stuck in orbit around Earth, unable to move. Engineers had looked at it for hours, but they could not find the cause. "It is impossible," the chief engineer told. "The engine is perfect. There is no damage, no malfunction, but it will not start. We need to send for parts from Andromeda. It will take 3 months." Was furious. The Empire would look weak. A great warship stuck above a primitive planet because of a broken engine. It was embarrassing. Heard about the problem and called for. "I want you to look at the ship," she said. Blinked, "Me. But I am just an Earth engineer. I fix cars and air conditioners. Your technology is millions of years more advanced than anything I have ever seen." "I know," said, "but I want to see how you think. Will you try?" Was quiet for a moment, then he smiled. "Okay, but if I break something, please do not destroy Earth." They took a small shuttle up to the warship. It was even more impressive up close. It was like a floating city, with towers and lights and machines that could not understand. The engineers watched him with disgust as he walked through their ship. "This is a waste of time," one of them said to another. "What can a primitive human do?" Ignored them. He looked at the engine room with wide eyes. Everything was beautiful and clean and perfect. Lights pulsed with energy. Machines hummed with power. It was like looking at magic. "Tell me about the engine," he said to the chief engineer. "The side. It is a quantum-fold engine. It bends space itself to move the ship. The technology is far beyond your understanding." "I know I do not understand it," said calmly, "but tell me anyway, how does it start?" The engineer explained, using small words like he was talking to a child. The engine needed to receive a signal from the main computer. The signal would activate the quantum field. The field would bend space. The ship would move. "But the signal is being sent," the engineer said. "We have checked 1,000 times. The computer is working. The signal is correct, but the engine does not respond." Walked around the engine slowly. He touched the walls. He listened to the sounds. He even smelled the air. They watched him like he was crazy. "Can I see the signal path?" asked. "The physical connection between the computer and the engine." "There is no physical connection," the engineer said with annoyance. "The signal is wireless. It travels through subspace, much more advanced than your primitive wires." Nodded. "I understand. But the signal still has to reach the engine somehow, right? Even wireless signals need a receiver. Where is the receiver?" The engineer pointed to a small box on the side of the engine. It was about the size of a human hand, covered in tiny lights. Walked over to it. He looked at it closely. He even pulled out a small flashlight from his pocket and shined it on the box. "There," he said, pointing at a tiny crack in the corner of the box. The engineers rushed over. They looked at the crack. It was so small that they had missed it completely. "Impossible," the chief engineer whispered. "Our scanners should have detected this damage." "Your scanners are very advanced," said. "They look for big problems, complex problems, but sometimes the problem is simple, a tiny crack, a loose connection, a piece of dust in the wrong place. Simple problems are easy to miss when you are looking for complex ones." He reached into his toolbox and pulled out a roll of special tape. "May I?" The engineers looked at each other with shock, but nodded her permission. Carefully put the tape over the crack. It was not a perfect repair. It was ugly and simple, but when the chief engineer sent the signal again, the engine roared to life. They stood in silence. They could not believe what they had just seen. A human, with primitive tools and simple thinking, had fixed a problem that their best engineers could not solve. Laughed. It was a real laugh, full of joy and surprise. "You did it." Smiled and put his tape back in his toolbox. "It is just a temporary fix. You will need to replace that part eventually, but it should work until you get back to your home." The chief engineer walked up to. His face was red with shame. How did you know?" "I did not know," said honestly. "I just looked. You were all so sure that the problem was complicated, so sure that your technology was perfect. But every machine has weak points, even the best ones. I just looked for the weak point." That night, invited to dinner on her ship, they sat alone in a beautiful room with windows that showed all the stars of the galaxy. "You impressed me today," said. "You impressed everyone." "I was lucky," said. "I could have been wrong. The problem could have been something else, something I could never understand. But you tried anyway, even though you thought you would fail." Shrugged. "What is the worst that could happen? I would look stupid. That is not so bad. I have looked stupid many times in my life. It never killed me." Looked at him with new eyes. She had met warriors who had conquered planets. She had met scientists who had unlocked the secrets of the universe. She had met kings and queens and gods. But she had never met anyone like a simple man who was not afraid to fail, who was not afraid to try, who looked at the impossible and said, "Maybe, let me see." "Your people are strange," she said softly. "Yes," agreed. "We are, but strange is not always bad. Sometimes strange is exactly what the universe needs." Raised her glass of wine. "To being strange," she said. Raised his glass of water. "To being strange." They drank together under the light of 1,000,000,000 stars, and felt that strange, warm feeling again, the one she had felt when she first met him. It was growing stronger now. She did not know what it meant yet. But she was starting to understand. The week had been perfect, too perfect perhaps, should have known that something bad was coming. Not everyone in the Empire was happy about the visit to Earth. Many powerful families thought that humans were worthless. They believed that making friends with such a primitive species was a waste of time. Some even thought it was dangerous. "Humans breed like insects," they said in their dark meeting rooms. "They spread across their planet like a disease. If we help them, they will spread across the galaxy too. In 1,000 years, they will be everywhere. In 10,000 years, they might challenge us." One family, the House of Shadows, decided to take action. They sent their best killers to Earth with a simple mission: kill the princess and blame the humans. Then there would be war. The Empire would destroy Earth, and no one would ever think about humans again. The assassins arrived quietly, hiding in the shadows of the great ship. There were 5 of them, each one trained since birth to kill. They wore suits that made them invisible. They carried weapons that could cut through any armor. They were the deadliest beings in the galaxy. And they struck on the 7th night. And were walking in a garden outside the meeting hall. The moon was full and beautiful. Flowers from both Earth and Andromeda grew together in the soil. It was a symbol of peace between their peoples. "It is beautiful here," said, touching a red rose. "Your planet has so many wonderful things." "We also have many terrible things," said. "War, poverty, hate. We are not perfect." "No one is perfect," replied. "My people have done terrible things too. We have destroyed entire planets. We have wiped out species that we thought were dangerous. We are old, but we are not wise." They walked in comfortable silence. 2 guards followed them at a distance, not too close because wanted privacy, but close enough to protect her, or so everyone thought. The first assassin moved like smoke through the night. In one heartbeat, both guards fell dead, their throats cut before they could make a sound. The other 4 assassins appeared around, and their invisible suits turning off to reveal dark armor. "Princess of the 3rd house," the leader said. His voice was cold like death. "You have been judged by the House of Shadows. Your crime is betraying your people by making friends with these animals. The sentence is death." Stood frozen. She had never faced real danger in her life. She had always been protected, always safe. Now death was standing right in front of her, and she did not know what to do. But moved. He grabbed and pulled her behind him, putting his body between her and the assassins. He picked up a garden shovel, the only thing nearby that could be used as a weapon. "Stay behind me," he said calmly. The assassins laughed. "A human protecting a princess with a garden tool," the leader shook his head. "This is almost sad. Step aside, animal. We only want the princess. You can live if you walk away now." "Did not move, no. You will die for her. You do not even know her. She is not your princess. She is not your friend. She is just another alien who will leave your planet and forget you ever existed." "Held the shovel, maybe, but right now she is a person in danger, and I do not walk away from people in danger. That is not who I am." The leader sighed. "Very well, kill them both." The assassins attacked. They moved faster than any human eye could follow. Their blades shined in the moonlight. Any normal person would have died in the first second. But was not a normal person. He did not try to fight them with skill. He did not try to match their speed. He simply put himself in their way again and again, taking cuts that were meant for. The shovel broke in his hands. A blade cut across his arm. Another cut his leg. Blood fell on the flowers. But he did not stop. "Why will you not die?" one assassin shouted in frustration, striking at again. Grabbed the assassin's arm and pulled him forward, making him crash into another assassin. "Because I am human," he said through gritted teeth. "We do not know how to quit." The fight was loud enough to wake the whole area. Alarms started to sound. Lights turned on. Guards came running from every direction. The assassins knew they had failed. They had only a few seconds left before they would be captured or killed. The leader made a final desperate attack throwing a knife at her heart. Saw the knife flying. He did not think, he just moved. He jumped in front of and the knife buried itself deep in his chest. He fell to the ground, blood pouring from the wound, screamed. The guards arrived and killed the assassins in seconds, but it was too late. The damage was done. Fell to her knees beside, tears streamed down her face. "No, no, no, why did you do that? Why?" Looked up at her and smiled. Even now, with death so close, he smiled. "Because you are worth protecting," he whispered. "Because someone had to." His eyes started to close. "No," screamed. She turned to the guards. "Get the medical team now. He will not die. I will not let him die." They rushed to the medical bay. The doctors worked for hours, using technology that could bring people back from the edge of death. The knife had damaged his heart. Any human hospital would have declared him dead. But medicine was millions of years more advanced. Waited outside the medical room all night. She did not eat. She did not sleep. She did not move. Tried to convince her to rest, but she refused. "He saved my life," she said. "He is a human. He had no reason to protect me. I am nothing to him. But he put his body between me and death. He took a knife that was meant for my heart. Why would anyone do that?" Had no answer. In the morning, the doctors came out. "He will live," they said, "but it will take time for him to recover. His body is weak compared to ours. The healing will be slow." Walked into the medical room and sat beside his bed. He was sleeping, his face pale but peaceful. Machines beeped softly around him. She took his hand in hers. It was rough and the hand of a man who worked with tools every day. It was not the soft hand of a prince or a noble, but too, it was the most beautiful hand she had ever held. "You foolish man," she whispered. "You brave, foolish, wonderful man. You almost died for me, a stranger from another galaxy, someone you met only a week ago." She watched his chest rise and fall with each breath. "In my world, we do not have people like you. We calculate everything. We measure every risk. We never act without knowing the outcome. But you just acted. You did not think about living or dying. You only thought about protecting me." She pressed his hand to her cheek. "I have lived for 200 years. I have met millions of people from thousands of worlds, but I have never met anyone like you. Never." She stayed beside him for 3 days, holding his hand, waiting for him to wake up. And during those 3 days, she made a decision that would change everything. When he opened his eyes again, she would tell him. She would ask him something that no princess had ever asked a human before. And she hoped with all her heart that he would say yes. Opened his eyes on the fourth day. The light was bright and strange. The room smelled like flowers and clean air. For a moment, he did not know where he was. Then he remembered the garden, the assassins, the knife flying toward. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. He fell back with a groan. "Do not move." His voice was soft and close. She was sitting right beside him, holding his hand. Her eyes were red from crying, but she was smiling. "You are still healing. The doctors say you need to rest." The princess said weakly, "Is she safe?" Laughed, but tears fell down her cheeks. "I am the princess, you foolish man. I am right here. And yes, I am safe, because of you." Relaxed. "Good, that is good." "Good," shook her head. "You almost died. You took a knife to the heart for me, a stranger, an alien. Why would you do something so crazy?" Thought about this question. It was a good question. Why had he done it? He was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was just an engineer who fixed machines. "I do not know," he said honestly. "I did not think about it. I just saw the knife and I moved. I could not let it hit you. I could not let you die. It felt wrong, like the worst thing in the world." Squeezed his hand. "You felt that way about me, after only 1 week." "I know it sounds strange," said. "We just met. We are from different worlds literally, but yes, I felt that way. I still feel that way." Was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the stars, her back straight and her hands folded. She said, her voice formal now, like she was making an official announcement, "I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully." Watched her with curious eyes. "I am listening." "In my culture, when someone saves your life, you owe them a great debt. This debt cannot be paid with money or gifts. It can only be paid with something of equal value, a life for a life." "I do not want payment," said quickly. "I did not save you for a reward. I saved you because it was the right thing to do." "I know," said, "and that makes the debt even greater. You acted without selfishness. You gave everything without expecting anything in return. In my culture, that is the highest form of honor." She turned to face him. Her purple eyes were bright with something, fear, maybe, or hope. "There is only one way I can repay this debt properly," she said. "Only one thing I can give you that is equal to my life." His heart started to beat faster. He did not understand what was happening, but he felt that something important was about to change. Said slowly, "I am asking you to marry me." The room went silent, stared at her. His mind went blank. Did she just say what he thought she said? "What?" he whispered. His face turned red, the first time I'd ever seen her embarrassed. "I know it is sudden. I know it sounds crazy. We have only known each other for 1 week. But in that week you have shown me more truth and courage than I have seen in 200 years. You look at me like I am a person, not a princess. You speak to me like an equal, not a servant. You make me laugh. You make me think. You make me feel things I have never felt before." She walked back to his bed and sat down beside him. "In my whole life, no one has ever been willing to die for me. My guards are trained to protect me, but it is their job. They do not choose it, they are assigned to it, but you chose. You had every chance to run away. You could have saved yourself, but you stayed, you fought, you bled, you almost died." She took both his hands in hers. "I do not want to lose you. I do not want to go back to Andromeda and never see you again. I want you beside me, forever." His head was spinning. This was impossible. Things like this did not happen in real life. He was just a normal man from Earth. She was a princess from another galaxy. They were from different species, different cultures, different worlds. But when he looked into her eyes, he did not see a princess. He did not see an alien. He saw the woman who had laughed with him in restaurants, who had asked him 1,000 questions about Earth, who had looked at him with wonder instead of fear. He saw someone who understood him, someone who saw him. Your people will never accept this, he said. I am human, I am primitive, I am nothing compared to. I do not care what my people think, said firmly. I am a princess of the royal house. I can marry whoever I choose, and I choose you. Your father, the emperor. My father sent me here to find something valuable on Earth. I found you. There is nothing more valuable than that. Laughed weakly. You are crazy. You know that, right? This is the craziest thing I have ever heard. Is that a no? Looked at her for a long time. His chest hurt. His head hurt. Everything hurt. But his heart felt light, lighter than it had ever felt. I am a simple man, he said finally. I fix machines. I ask too many questions. I do not know how to be a prince or a royal husband. I will probably embarrass you 100 times. I do not want a prince, said. I want you. Then yes. Blinked yes. Yes, said with a smile. I will marry you. If you are crazy enough to want me, then I am crazy enough to say yes. Threw her arms around him, forgetting about his wounds. He groaned in pain, but he did not push her away. He held her close, feeling her warmth, smelling her hair. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do not thank me yet, said. You do not know what you are getting into. I leave my socks on the floor. I forget to eat when I am working. I talk to machines like they are people. I know, laughed. I do not care. They held each other for a long time, two people from different worlds, finding something they had both been looking for without knowing it. When came to check on them an hour later, he found them sitting together, planning their future. The old advisor almost fell over from shock. Princess, he exclaimed, what is the meaning of this? I am going to marry him, said simply. Call a meeting of both councils, human, and I will make the announcement tomorrow. But this is impossible. The emperor will never allow. My father will understand, said, and if he does not, I will make him understand. This is my choice, my life, my future. Looked at with horror. What have you done, human? What spell have you put on the princess? Shrugged, no spell. I just fixed an engine and jumped in front of a knife. That is all. Opened his mouth to argue more, but stopped him with a look. The old advisor knew that look. It meant the princess had made up her mind, and nothing in the universe could change it. He bowed and left the room, already dreading the chaos that was about to come. But did not care about chaos. She did not care about politics or tradition or what anyone thought. She cared about the man beside her, the strange, brave, wonderful human who had showed her what it meant to truly live. Tomorrow she would tell the world. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight she just wanted to sit here with him, holding his hand, dreaming of the future they would build together. The great hall was full of people from two worlds. On one side sat the leaders of Earth, presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists. On the other side sat the nobles of Andromeda, ancient lords and ladies who had ruled galaxies when humans were still living in caves. Both sides watched the empty platform in the center of the room with nervous eyes. No one knew why they had been called here. The council was angry about the attack on the princess. The human leaders were afraid of punishment. Everyone expected bad news. The doors opened and Princess walked in. She wore her finest royal dress, made of light and stars. Her crown floated above her head like a ring of small suns. She looked like a goddess from an old story. Beside her walked. The room went silent. The stared with horror. The humans stared with confusion. What was a common engineer doing walking beside the princess? Why was she holding his hand? Climbed to the platform and faced the crowd. Her voice was clear and strong. People of Earth, people of Andromeda, I have called you here today to make an announcement that will change the history of both our peoples. Stood in the corner, his face pale. He had tried all night to change his mind. He had failed. 1 week ago, I came to this planet expecting nothing. My people told me that humans were primitive, weak, worthless. I believed them. I was wrong. She looked at beside her. He looked uncomfortable in his new formal clothes, but he stood straight and proud. This man saved my life. He fought trained assassins with a garden tool. He took a knife meant for my heart. He did this not for money or reward. He did this simply because he believed it was right. In 200 years of life, I have never seen such courage, such honor, such love. The word hung in the air. Love, they whispered to each other in shock. I have decided to marry this man. Of Earth will be my husband and my partner for the rest of my life. The room exploded with noise. They shouted in anger. Some human leaders cheered. Others sat in stunned silence. Looked like he might faint. An old lord stood up, his face red with fury. This is impossible. It is against all tradition. A princess of the royal house cannot marry a primitive animal. He is not an animal, said coldly. He is a man, a better man than any I have met in the empire. The emperor will never allow this. The emperor is my father, he will understand. And even if he does not, this is my choice to make, no one else's. Another noble spoke up. What about the purity of the bloodline? What about our traditions? You would destroy thousands of years of history for this creature. Stepped forward. The room went quiet. They had never heard a human speak at a council before. I know I am not worthy of your princess, he said. His voice was calm and steady. I am just a man who fixes machines. I do not have ancient blood or great power. I cannot live for hundreds of years or bend space with my mind. He looked at the angry nobles with honest eyes. But I love her. I loved her from the moment she smiled at me. A real smile, not the cold smile she shows at meetings. I loved her when she ate street food with her fingers and laughed at her own messy face. I loved her when she stayed beside my bed for 3 days, waiting for me to wake up. He took his hand in his. I cannot give her wealth or power, but I can give her something else. I can give her truth. I can give her honesty. I can give her a partner who will stand beside her not because of duty but because of love. And I can give her something that is rare in your empire. I can make her happy. The room was silent. Even the angry nobles had nothing to say. Smiled at and squeezed his hand. Then she turned back to the crowd. This marriage is not just about love. It is about the future. For too long our peoples have been strangers. We have looked at each other with fear and suspicion. But today we begin something new. She raised her voice so everyone could hear. I propose an alliance between Earth and Andromeda, a true partnership where humans and work together as equals. We will share our knowledge. We will learn from each other. We will build a future that neither of us could build alone. The human leaders started to talk excitedly among themselves. This was more than they had ever hoped for. Access to technology, protection from hostile species, a place in the galactic community. Even some of the nobles began to nod slowly. They had seen what could do, how his simple thinking had solved a problem their best engineers could not. Perhaps humans were not as worthless as they thought. The old lord who had spoken against the marriage stood up again, but this time his voice was different, quieter, more thoughtful. You speak of alliance, he said, but alliances have been made before and broken before. What makes this one different? Love, said simply. Alliances built on politics can fall apart. Alliances built on need can fade when the need is gone. But this alliance will be built on the love between two people from different worlds. That is something stronger than any contract or treaty. It is a bond that cannot be broken. The old lord looked at her for a long moment. Then slowly he bowed his head. Very well, princess. I do not like this. I do not understand this. But I can see that your mind is made. And perhaps you see something that we cannot. One by one, the other nobles bowed their heads. They were not happy, but they accepted it. The princess had spoken. The decision was made. The human leaders rose and applauded. Some had tears in their eyes. For the first time in history, humanity had a real friend in the stars. looked at and smiled. "Well," she whispered, "that went better than I expected." "I thought they were going to kill me for a moment there," admitted. "They might still try. My people are stubborn." "So am I," said. "We will figure it out together." The wedding happened 3 months later, on a space station built between Earth and Andromeda. Billions of people from both worlds watched as the princess and the engineer exchanged vows. It was the biggest event in the history of either species. And it was only the beginning. In the years that followed, humans and built wonders together. They explored new galaxies. They cured diseases that had killed millions. They created art that combined the beauty of both cultures. And through it all, and stood side by side, leading their people toward a brighter future. Sometimes, late at night, they would sit by a window and look at the stars together. Would hold hand, just as he had done on that first night in Seoul. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked once, "marrying a simple human instead of some powerful prince?" Laughed and kissed his cheek. "Never, not for a single moment. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. You showed me that true strength is not about power or technology. It is about courage, kindness, and the willingness to stand up for what is right." "You are too kind," said, embarrassed. "I am honest," replied. "That is something you taught me." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars spin slowly past their window. Two people from different worlds, united by something stronger than distance or difference. And somewhere in the universe, among the billions of stars and the endless darkness of space, a new light was shining. A light of hope. A light of possibility. A light that said, no matter how different we are, we can always find a way to understand each other. All it takes is courage, honesty, and love.